Welcome, wrestling fans. Welcome to Curtain Jerkin. As always, I'm your host, Jacob Grondy, reporting for the Main Event Marks YouTube channel. You can also check me out on Spotify, Apple Music. Let a friend know. I always say if you're in line, tap the person in front of you and just show them your phone that you're listening to this podcast. Maybe they're a wrestling fan. Maybe you guys can be friends based on this podcast. I don't know. I do know that I miss talking to you guys. It's been since Thursday morning since I've talked to you guys. A lot has happened over the weekend. We're going to be jumping into Raw, Smackdown, AEW Rampage. Over in Japan, they had the All Together Again event, which featured New Japan, All Japan, and Noah. We're also going to be talking about Conner Mcgreggor knocking out the Miami Heat mascot before the Denver Nuggets knocked out the Miami Heat altogether last night. Conner Mcgreggor knocked out their mascot, sending him to the ER. Apparently, he's promoting this spray, kind of like Brandon Cutler uses on the Young Bucks. This spray that's supposed to help heal them. So there was this skit they did where he was going to punch the mascot, and he threw one too many punches and thought it was a joke. He was booed before this even happened, and then he ended up knocking out their mascot. I mean, the mascot is a representation of the team. So if you're going to be knocking out a character that's representative of the team, when you're already getting booed to try to sell a brand, you're also looking ridiculous in this skin tight velvet jumpsuit in June. You're hot. You're gonna be hot as fuck wearing that shit in Miami. So the whole thing was, I think, a little out of touch, which is indicative of what's going on with Conner McGregor. I mean, as these allegations kind of pile on, as he's continuing to lose fights, as he's kind of just making a general ass of himself, he seems to be unaware. I don't know if he's surrounded by some, Pat Pattersons and Gerald Briscoes or something, but someone in his camp needs to kind of show him this oncoming wave of negativity that's happening with him. I mean, he was a great fighter. He might not even be a great fighter anymore. And, everyone knew him as the shit talker that could back it up, but if he's not backing it up anymore, how is he going to be humble? You'd think 2 or 3 losses in a row would make him humble. You'd think breaking your leg would make you humble, but it's not working. This is interesting. This is, I feel a lot of people talk about The Miz and MJF, and I mean, I talk about like Jake Paul, but I feel like all those guys, even though they play heels, recognize the elements of their characters that they put on that make them off-putting and can thus turn it off in real life, where I'm having a hard time at least seeing in the public eye if Conner McGregor knows that he is doing things that are making him come across as off-putting, even in flashy cities like Miami, even in, a crazy world like combat sports. He's doing this. Speaking of combat sports, Amanda Nunes retired over the weekend in a very critically unacclaimed, I guess, UFC 289 card. I could see her going into wrestling. On Impact, Steve Macklin, who won the title not too long ago, had a crazy match with PCO. Here I am thinking they're going to keep it on him and kind of give some stability to the title after Josh Alexander and Mickie James both had to relinquish their titles based on injuries. And then all of a sudden, Alex Shelley gets it. A feel-good story, a Lifetime Achievement Award kind of a thing, beating Macklin. I feel like every time there's a Lifetime Achievement Award with this world title, anything other than maybe Mick Foley winning it, back in 1999, whenever that happened, the Lifetime Achievement Awards don't work. I go back to Christopher Daniels and Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor were super hot at the time, and then all of a sudden Christopher Daniels wins, and it feels like a consolation prize because obviously Cody was hot at the time, Jay Lethal was hot at the time, anyone who had a Bullet Club t-shirt was hot at the time, but then the world champion for a few months was Christopher Daniels, and I feel like this is kind of the same kind of thing. Alex Shelley winning the title. He's a great wrestler, but I would not have done this. I would have kept it on Macklin because Macklin was your company. Someone that the WWE throws away that could find success in Impact is kind of like the story of Impact, and I feel like a lot of fans can get behind that. Where Alex Shelley wrestles on New Japan Strong, wrestles on New Japan Proper, wrestles on AEW sometimes. Shit, you can see him at Black Label Pro. So he kind of bounces around, and he doesn't really feel like an Impact guy, even though he's been in Impact for like 20 years now. Maybe this is a transitional champion. Maybe they're going to put the title on Aldis. Or maybe, Josh Alexander's going to come back and you can put on Josh Alexander. So therefore you got a guy that never beat Josh Alexander versus a guy that Josh Alexander never beat, both wanting the world title. I feel like Nick Aldis could, as we saw in NWA, can be your guy. So if I was Impact, Aldis waiting for Alexander would be my money feud, and I would have the title on Maclin, attempting to make Maclin up in that upper echelon as well. I mean, they're the bookers. They might know what they're doing here more than I am. Definitely watching from afar. I only watch the big pay-per-views. But in my eyes, Alex Shelley, as good of a wrestler as he is, took the title off Maclin too soon. Maybe he's injured too. I don't know. But that's the Impact. That's UFC. Jumping over to SmackDown. Huge number for SmackDown. Heyman tells Jey Uso that Jimmy knows that Roman wants to groom Jey to be the tribal chief, and that's why he is trying to split the bloodline up. Heyman sets up a match to start that trajectory for him getting the tribal chief, and that was Austin Theory versus Jey Uso in singles competition. And if he wins, he will publicly start being groomed, flying in a private jet and everything, winning this U.S. title match. Sammy in the back trying to talk sense into Jey. Says that Roman is the guy who ruined everything because of his ego trying to get in the tribal chief. Says, don't listen to what's in your ear, listen to what's in your heart. I thought that was kind of a cool little line. Heyman still admittedly admits that Jey kind of got him because Jey kind of roped him into the U.S. title match, but then didn't commit to joining the Bloodline full time. When he gets his title match, Heyman's hyping him up. But Heyman says that, Jey Uso says that if he is the tribal chief, then that means that Heyman is gone. He doesn't like Heyman. He doesn't trust Paul Heyman. He's not a fan of Paul Heyman. Later on that night, Theory versus Jey, ref down. Jey's up. Uso splash. 1, 2, 3, 4. It doesn't matter. The ref is down. Pretty Deadly shows up to help Austin Theory. Jimmy shows up to help Jey. Solo shows up. Jimmy accidentally super kicks Jey in the melee. Theory pins Jey. 1, 2, 3. Champ retains, but Jey is pissed. Jey walks to the back, not giving his decision. I do not think we are going to get the Usos split up on WWE TV ever. I think we're leading to Bloodline versus Usos at SummerSlam. But obviously the journey is way better than the outcomes in this storyline. I've been saying it for months. Just follow the journey. And the results are kind of like, kind of like if someone tells you the results of a close basketball game. Like, you're not going to be talking about, and then so-and-so hit a buzzer beater. Then the other guy ran down the court, hit a buzzer beater, got fouled, ended up winning the game. You're going to, if you look at the results, it's, someone won by 1 point. It's a different story. You got to watch the journey, not the results, especially in this Bloodline angle. I would say that was the biggest news on SmackDown. Another, thing that happened was that there's a new Women's World Championship, a new look to it. It looks cool. Gold plated like Roman, but on white leather. Asuka getting it, but then Charlotte's music hits. She interrupts the ceremony and challenges Asuka for the title. Asuka accepts, tries to hit her with the mist. The mist ends up eating a boot. People are tired of Charlotte. That's what I hear. That's what I see. But she's gone a lot, I think. And her last marquee match that I remember at Mania was one of the best matches of the year. And there's going to be a segment of the audience that are turning through the channels. Oh, that's Flair's girl. That's Flair's daughter. I'm watching. And so you got the people that were fans in the 2010s thinking Charlotte's a big deal. You got the people that were watching the 80s and 90s knowing the Flair name. So there are going to be a group of people that are probably bigger than the people that are tired of Charlotte that are going to stop their remote for at least a few seconds every time Charlotte's on the television. Money in the Bank qualifying matches. I was excited for this one. Escobar versus Ali with LA Knight on commentary. Sounds like some good wrestling to me. This was a good match. Ali going up top, misses the 450, but rolls through. Poison Rana on WWE television like a $2 steak. That shit's rare. Both up top. Phantom Driver off the top. 1, 2, 3. Escobar advances to Money in the Bank. Will he be Mr. Money in the Bank? Fuck no. But it will be exciting to see him in the match. Butch and Baron Corbin, another qualifying match. Corbin jaw-jacking with Trick and Carmelo Hayes from NXT before the match. Butch gets the victory. Will he be Mr. Money in the Bank? Fuck no, but it'll be cool to see him in front of that, I put Wembley crowd, but in front of that London, England crowd, because he's a home country boy. It was a rough night for Baron Corbin, though. He gets attacked by trying to attack Trick and Hayes after the match. WWE officials pull it apart. And then in the back, later, Cameron Grimes attacks him as well. Women's Money in the Bank qualifying match. Bayley versus Michin. Bayley advances. Will she be Mrs. Money in the Bank? Fuck. Well, maybe she might. AJ Styles was on commentary. Scarlett blows a bunch of red dust bullshit in the face of AJ Styles, setting up for Cross to choke him out a bit. This could be like a little bit of Great Muta influence, a little Poison Ivy influence, a little Pocket Sand from King of the Hill. Who knows what happened here? But I feel like Karrion Kross, who's had beef with AJ Styles for a long time, even throughout this world title tournament thing that was going on, now finally gets a match with AJ Styles at Money in the Bank. Who's blowing pocket sand in whose face? We'll have to tune in a few weeks and find out. Io Sky and Shotzi. This is a qualifier match. Could they get another member of Damage Control in the Money in the Bank match? I love Shotzi's little dives here. She really launches herself like Darby Allin style. I'm a fan. Bayley gets involved. Moonsault 1, 2, 3. Will Io be Mrs. Money in the Bank? Fuck no. NXT Women's Tag Champions are out there on SmackDown, get interrupted by the new WWE Tag Champions. I like this feud, but hearing Baszler cutting a promo about how she has, the titles and everything just bores the hell out of me. I do think that they should combine these titles. I've said it for weeks now, and it looks like that's what they're trying to do, because then you got Ronda, a star, but, kind of not really that good at wrestling. She's like, her perception of being a good fighter outside of WWE far exceeds her perception of being a good wrestler inside the WWE universe. So what you would need to do is just have her show up on all 3 shows. Hopefully she gets a little bit of credibility back. And then if someone's flipping through the channels who used to be a UFC fan or used to, just kind of knows who she is, we'll stop on NXT, we'll stop on SmackDown, we'll stop on Raw, which is seemingly what they're doing, and having her have these tag championships kind of give her the, the excuse to do something like that. So I'm excited about this match. I think these tag titles are a fresh coat of paint on Ronda, which, she was pretty stale other than that. There looks to be like a tag title gauntlet match next week. Pretty Deadly, Brawling Brutes, OC, LWO, and Street Profits. Winner gets a tag title shot. Grayson Waller, video package. I like the video package better than the talk show. Jumping over to Raw, Rhea got a new title as well. She also looks, pretty cool in her video package. They're making her a star. I feel like her title is the number 1 title, despite ladies on the other brand like Asuka, Charlotte, and Bianca fighting over it. She just seems like a dominant champion over here. The new titles, I like them. I think they look pretty cool. Dom out celebrating with Mommy. Cody interrupts. Wants to face Brock, but then ends up challenging Dom. I saw a few people laughing at Cody about this, comparing maybe the match he would have at Forbidden Door to a match with Dominic. But there's just as many people at this O2 Arena than will be in Toronto at Forbidden Door. And Cody is over here now. Literally over. if Cody were to face a guy from New Japan, even if he wanted to be treated as a face, the AEW crowd is more apt to cheer for a New Japan guy. So Cody would have to be battling that week after week. It would get old. It got old watching AEW fans turn on Cody, even though he was having great matches with Sammy Guevara. So having him in WWE, I think he fits better. It's a cool story where WWE rejected him. He went on, built an empire, and now is back in WWE. That's like a cool full circle story that we get to watch. And I think Dom is over as a heel. Cody is over as a face. This is already going to be good in that usually good UK crowd. So I think this is better than this match right here, even though it's a downgrade from Brock Lesnar, is a better matchup for Cody than any match you could do with him at Forbidden Door at this point. So the fact that people are still bringing it up over a year later is ridiculous to me. But Miz sneaks attack Cody, allows Dom to get a cheap shot in, and then Dom runs away, and then we get Miz versus Cody. Disaster kick 1-2. Miz kicks out. Miz gets the upper hand, can't hit the skull-crushing finale. Cody cutter, crossroads 1-2-3. Cody beats Miz. Solid match. Becky cuts a promo. Starks interrupts. Without Trish here, this bores the hell out of me. We get a Becky versus Chelsea Green match. Chelsea taking it to the man. Ends up tapping to the disarmor. Sammy and KO in the back with Saxton gets interrupted by Imperium. This sets up the main event. But before that, Matt Riddle and Damian Priest in a Money in the Bank qualifying match. Broton, corkscrew senton, German 1-2, no. Superplex by Bro, no. Priest cuts him off. Cuts off the springboard attempt. Like it looks like they were going to go for like a corkscrew senton off of a springboard. But Priest runs up on him and catches him in the razor's edge. I like this counter. 1-2-3. Damian Priest gets the victory. Will he be Mr. Money in the Bank? Say it with me. Fuck no. But then after the match, Imperium attacks the original Bro, friend of the tag team champions who they will face later on in the program. They can be real jerks sometimes. Jumping to that main event, Kevin Owens and Sammy versus the Imperium. Hot tag to KO. Swanton 1-2. IC champ kicks out. They brawl on the outside. Bro comes out pissed, being held back by officials. Gets booted again by Gunther. KO then takes advantage, hitting a DDT on the ramp. Blue Thunder Bomb by Sami Zayn in the ring to the other member of Imperium. 1, 2, 3. This is the first time I can remember Sami Zayn actually winning a match with the Blue Thunder Bomb. Usually that's as good of a 2 count. Like if I'm taking notes on the match and he hits a Blue Thunder Bomb, I'm already writing 2 count. But this is truly a landmark moment. The Blue Thunder Bomb gets him the victory in the match. I thought the Blue Thunder Bomb and the Michinoku Driver were going to be the DDT and the Fisherman Suplex of this generation. Moves that used to be solid finishers going to the wayside for a good 2 count or a transitional move. But because of Sami Zayn, the Blue Thunder Bomb, at least for now, lives on as a finishing move on the main event of Raw. I'm excited to see it. Also on Raw, Finn pissed at Rollins about injuring him, ruining his Universal title match from a long time ago, like 6 years ago. I mean, I would be too. Finn wants to injure Rollins at Money in the Bank. Rollins accepts. This should be a great match. You got an Irish guy in the UK. You got a good storyline here where, hey, when I had the title, you injured me, and now you got the new title. I'm going to try to injure you. I mean, it's right there, and I think the crowd's going to be there for it. Ricochet and Reed, Nakamura coming out. Reed in control, but focusing a lot on Nakamura. Ricochet firing back, but gets caught after a moonsault attempt off the apron. And then Reed, when he catches him, just launches Ricochet into Nakamura. Nakamura then pissed, gets up and attacks Reed. Reed then wins the match by DQ, which doesn't help Ricochet at all. So Ricochet pissed at Nakamura. Adam Pearce says that there won't be a rematch with Ricochet and Reed because Nakamura already has a match next week against Bronson Reed. Look, any type of feud or match you can do with these three, sign me up. I'm excited. I'll watch it every time. Shayna Baszler and Raquel Gonzalez. Ronda helps her partner get the victory. Okay, Chad Gable versus Eric from the Viking Raiders. Shoosh. crowd behind Gable. I'm behind Gable. Valhalla, which, the girl with the Viking Raiders tries to attack the girl that's with Otis and Chad Gable. But Maxine, learning from Gable, hits an arm drag, and then Gable rolls up Eric off of the distraction from the arm drag. 1, 2, 3. That was a fun little match. There's some fun little matches on AEW Rampage as well, but a very skippable show. QTV, this isn't good. I said it was good at first, but I was wrong. I'm sorry. Forbidden Door should be good, though. Nice little video package hyping that up. Wardlow promo that just gets taken over by Arn Anderson. Arn Anderson's still a great promo. He can just pull you in when he's talking, and he doesn't have to yell. I feel like he has the Jake the Snake kind of vibe, but the Jake the Snake kind of vibe from the 80s. Jake the Snake kind of lost it. I don't know. He doesn't really know what he's doing. He doesn't know really how to talk anymore, but Arn Anderson never lost it. He looks right in that camera, and I feel like he's about to just bitch slap me or something. I'm like, oh fuck. I get kind of nervous. But he's just a senior citizen talking about how his son got beaten up. And plus, there's a TV screen and miles between us. The Dynamite recap. These recaps for the shows are good. Recaps sell pay-per-views. They sell fights. That's why WWE does it so much. That's why WWE does it so well, because they put money behind it. GCW honestly does it so well, and I think that's what separates them from a lot of other indies. Jeff Jarrett, Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, Satnam Singh, and Karen Jarrett all out there. They call it Aubrey Edwards. Aubrey Edwards comes out with Mark Briscoe, and there ends up being a match: Jeff Jarrett, Jay Lethal, and Karen Jarrett versus Mark Briscoe, Aubrey Edwards, and Papa Briscoe. This will be a fun match. This will be ridiculous. But let's rank every single match from Rampage from worst to first. All 4 big matches. The list that no one wanted, but the list that everyone's going to get. Powerhouse Hobbs versus Caleb Crush at number 4. Caleb Crush, 37 years old, 14-year-old veteran, but Hobbs whoops his ass. 1, 2, 3. But making the podium, 3rd place, the curtain jerker of the evening, Bandito and Lucha Brothers versus Big Bill, Lee Moriarty, and Ethan Page. So they said Ethan Page already signed this match before being under contract with Matt. That kind of makes sense. But wasn't Bandito with Best Friends, and now he's with the Lucha Brothers? And Lucha Brothers have beefed with Best Friends before. This is kind of all weird. They need to tie up loose ends here. But Bandito does get the hot tag. He goes off. Phoenix goes off as well. Penta just launches Bandito in the air at one point. That looked kind of cool. But then the Hardys came out and made Ethan Page pull up his sleeves, and he revealed that he had the Jeff Hardy sleeves. I can see this being more funny in the back than when they did it in front of thousands, because you got to remember, AEW skews younger as far as the audience at these live shows. They might not remember that Jeff Hardy wore those fucking sleeves in 2006, but it distracts Ethan Page enough for the 21 plex to be hit by Bandito. 1, 2, 3. Bandito gets a victory. Apparently Bandito is done with AAA. He was going to AAA in Mexico and doing AEW, but now he's fully done with AAA from what I understand. So I bet we can see him winning a lot more matches in AEW because he's good. Former Ring of Honor champion. Sick mask. I mean, that would be if I had to buy a Lucha mask, I'd buy the Bandito mask. I'll say that. Number 2. Silver medalist here in AEW listing from worst to first. The Acclaim versus the Spanish Announce Project. Funny name, but Angelico deserves better than this. He's kind of paired with 2 jobbers who were 2 jobbers before he got on there, but I guess from his perspective, these jobbers were working more than him. The Acclaim still over after AEW not really doing anything with him for months now. Luther is interesting too. His 2 big runs are with FMW and then AEW. But I kind of got distracted with my notes here. Didn't really watch the match too much. Caster in trouble, but then Billy Gunn gets the hot tag. Tags back into Caster. Caster hits the mic drop. 1, 2, 3. I know Bowens kind of made a little bit of headlines here saying that there should be more like gay storylines in wrestling. Not like a Goldust gay storyline or Adrian Street, but just kind of more like the Golden Lovers kind of storyline. And I'm all about it. He's teaming with Billy and Chuck for a guy that used to be in I think it's the first ever gay wedding on television was, Billy and Chuck. So, I mean, he's saying that there should be more, but I mean, in the very nature of who he is, he's presenting that very thing that he wants, which I think is pretty cool, especially during Pride Month. The Acclaimed get the victory. Scissor me daddy ass. Let's go. Sky Blue versus Britt Baker versus Nyla Rose versus Mercedes Martinez is the best match on AW Rampage this week, and it was the main event. Outcast watching from backstage. Winner gets a title shot. Sheeta chases off Shafir. All hell breaking loose. Baker knocks Nyla off the top. Mercedes cuts off Sky Blue from the top. Baker and Sky Blue end up trading forearms a little bit here. Strike battle. Baker and Blue end up putting Mercedes in. One locks in a crossface. One locks in a half crab at the same damn time. Nyla breaks all that up. But then the Cinderella story, if you will, Code Blue 1, 2, 3, Sky Blue wins the match and gets a title shot. Best match on a dull show, but still a great match. The ladies get the top spot. Rarely happens in AEW, but this show they got the best match. But that wasn't all the wrestling that we saw over the weekend. Of course, we saw Against All Odds. Of course, we saw UFC 281, Raw, SmackDown, AEW Rampage. If you watch Level Up, you got Level Up. I'm sure there was a bunch of indie shows, but New Japan versus Noah versus All Japan had my attention all together again to kind of celebrate that Japan is done with COVID. They all got together again. What a fun reason to have a wrestling show. No clap crowds. They can cheer. One side was All Japan in the audience. One side was Noah. One side was New Japan. And I think the hard cam side probably wasn't full. This wasn't a well-attended show. I don't know if they really even do that in Japan. Go Shiozaki, Tanahashi, and Suwama out there to kind of welcome everyone back. They brought out the band that sang the official theme song. Aretha Franklin, this was not. But this was better than that Hardy guy at Royal Rumble. It still confuses me, those lyrics. Wall to wall, but it still ain't sold out. Like, what are the regulations of this building? Does the fire marshal know about this wall-to-wall event, but you're still inviting people in? What's going on here, Hardy? And your name is Hardy, but you're not Matter Jeff. This was a bad booking to get this guy on this Royal Rumble. But let's break down this show. This show was 90% filler, but the main event was all killer, baby. Excuse me with some of these names. I'm unfamiliar with the names from All Japan and some of these lower card guys in Noah. I really don't know as well. But the first match, a lot of multi-man tag matches on the show. Black Minzuri, which is, he has kind of like a Curryman style gimmick. Ryo Inoue, Ryazaki, and Taguchi, as well as teaming with Yo from New Japan, versus a few guys on the other side, along with Super Crazy. So it's always cool to see Super Crazy. Like I said, the Curryman gimmick is alive and well with this guy. Yo ends up getting the victory for his team. Okay, cool opener. Then we get Goto, Ishii, Yoshihashi versus Masa Kiyomiya, Inamura, and Daki Aniba. Big guys going at it here. I knew all these guys, so I was excited to see this one. Chaos get the victory. So it was kind of building up nicely. These first three matches kind of built up nicely, but then it just kind of plateaued throughout like 2 hours of the show. We had Chris Ridgway and Sean Legacy from Noah versus Fujita and Zack Sabre Jr. from TMDK of New Japan. This was a good match. Second best match on the show. Not familiar with Sean Legacy before this match. 27 years old. Got his start in Georgia. Popped up in AEW in 2020. But seems like this is his big break in Noah here. No love lost between him and his partner. Zack and Ridgway were great to watch here. A lot of chain wrestling from the two British standouts. Ridgway, a lot smaller than Zack Sabre Jr., which was interesting to see. But he's covered in tattoos and tough as hell. He's in Noah. He's doing great. TMDK working over Legacy. Fujita looks good as well here. A Young Lion kind of got pulled away from the Young Lions division a little bit by Zack Sabre Jr. And it's kind of like Zack Sabre Jr.'s young boy, but quickly turning into just Zack Sabre Jr.'s tag partner. Ridgeway makes him tap out like a bitch, though. Little did I know this would have been the shining light of the mid-card here. Yoshitatsu versus Shota Umino. Yes, that Yoshitatsu, former of WWE. I was excited to see how Shota Umino would do against him here, but it was a quick match. Shota makes short work of the WWE legend. Nakajima and Go Shiozaki versus Kojima. Well, yeah, Nakajima and Go Shiozaki versus Kojima and Omari. Sorry, I'm not saying that. Not Omari, I'm from B2K, but Omari. Not familiar with Omari, but apparently he's got an MMA background here. All Japan standout. I thought this was going to be a good match, but it ended up being pretty short with Nakajima and Go Shiozaki, former tag team partners turned rivals, back to tag team partners again here. Desperado, Suzuki, and Rin Narita versus Jonto Miyake, Segura, and Marufuji. So I know most of those guys with that one. So if I know most of them, I'll get excited on the show because I'm trying to learn new guys, but I know I got to review the show, and I'm embarrassing myself by butchering these Japanese names. Same thing here. Solid match, but short. Pinche Loco from El Desperado, 1, 2, 3. El Desperado gets the victory here. El Desperado wrestled on the GCW card and wrestled in this card. So he's flying around all over the place, bleeding in New Jersey, getting the win in Tokyo. You got to give it to him. I love El Desperado. Then we have Hanare, Akira, Great-O-Khan, Jeff Cobb, and TJP of the United Empire from New Japan versus the Saito brothers, better known as the Voodoo Murderers. Dan Tamer, which is a Japanese guy named Dan, which is interesting. Akira Soto, and Ryoku Honda. These Voodoo Murderers guys, the Saito brothers, they kind of wrestled like Indus Gear from Raw. They brawl everywhere. They're big. They kind of grunt. They're older. I looked into it. They're in their late 30s, but apparently they have a sumo background, which is pretty interesting. Great-O-Khan, though, at one point puts his thumb in someone's ass. That's right. Just bloop. Plopped it right in there. Through his tights, at least. And then that guy ends up getting the upper hand, but then his partners, the Saito brothers, just attack him for no fucking reason. That was ridiculous. If someone put their thumb in my ass and then I got attacked by my own partner, I would quit my job right then. I would not care about my dream of being world champion anymore. I would go back to school. It's never too late, folks. If this kind of thing happens to you in the wrestling ring, start another career. But he continues to fight because that's what fighting spirit is all about, I guess. He ends up putting his thumb in Great-O-Khan's ass after the United Empire get the win, and O-Khan grabs a flagpole. Thank God the other wrestlers intervene at this point. I didn't know what the fuck was going to happen. I didn't know what I was even watching. United Empire walk off and celebrate. The other guys from All Japan, walk off with a little bit of their dignity intact while carrying their fallen comrade. Then we get Suwama, Nagata, and Anazia versus LIJ, Bushi, Shingo, and Naito. Nagata is the Triple Crown champion, which at this point is kind of like being the NWA champion. I don't think we will see Blue Justice on Fox News anytime soon, but you kind of get what I'm saying. This is like a prestigious title of yesteryear, still being held prestigious to this day, but kind of is more or less an indie title at this point. Suwama Legend, he's held that title 8 times in his 20-year career. Last ride style powerbomb, 1, 2, 3. All Japan gets the victory, but as they're leaving, Naito is eyeing up that Triple Crown title as he leaves. Then we have the good-looking guys, the actual name of this faction, versus just 5 guys, the actual name of that faction. Despite the ridiculous names of these factions, the IWGP champion from New Japan, Sonata, on one side, and Jake Lee, the former All Japan star turned GHC world champion from Noah, on the other side. This is interesting to me, but it really didn't get going. We really didn't see them kind of go back and forth like I thought they would be. Noah won this one, and then they kind of teased some tension between the two champions at the end. But I wanted to see more from this show. I would maybe wanted to see like the Noah champ in a singles match and the IWGP champion in another singles match. I know obviously champ versus champ might be too much, but they could have done more singles matches showcasing the world champions on this, mega card. They didn't have to do all multi-man matches throughout this whole thing. Then we had a 6-man tag with a lot of juniors: Hiromu Takahashi, Asuka Ayagi versus Hayata Master Wato and Rising Hayato. Hayato has little Uzi Vert energy here, some weird anime guy with feminine vibes, but Asuki Oyoga impressed me. Hits a Spanish fly and a 450, 1, 2, 3. He gets a victory for his team. But then the killer starts. That was all filler. The killer starts in the main event. Kenta Miyahara, Tanahashi, and Kita Kiyomiya. We all remember Kiyomiya. He was the world champion at the beginning of the year. Had a really good match January 1st, but then it's all been downhill. Lost to Okada, lost his title, was trying to carry Great Muta's bags at WrestleMania weekend, but got turned down. Muta didn't want him to carry his bag. So this guy's had a rough downward spiral, but it's building up, and no love lost between the guy he's facing here, Okada, teaming with Keno and Yuma Ayagi. Okada and Kiyomiya, of course I said no love there. They're staring each other down at the beginning of this match. Keno pushes both of them to the side to stare down Tanahashi. Miyahara and Okada, great to see them go at it. I love Miyahara. I thought he was a heel, but here he is teaming with what you would think is the faces on Wood's side. Okada and him going after it. Yagi and Kiyomiya going after it, but Kiyomiya, even though he's the legal man and Okada's not, he attacks Okada. They brawl on the outside. This is when it hit me that this bloodline storyline in WWE might be the best story in pro wrestling, but Kiyomiya and Okada is the best rivalry of 2023 so far. And with Kiyomiya in Noah, but being the Noah representation of the G1 tournament in New Japan, it looks like this rivalry is going to get better into the summer. I'm excited. Kiyomiya lands a drop kick. Miyahara lights up Okada. Triple drop kick to Okada. Sling blade 1, 2. Okada kicks out at the 20-minute mark. Tanahashi dodges the Rainmaker. And then as Okada's falling into what would be the clothesline, Kiyomiya lights him up with a knee. Keno gets in there, starts whooping everyone's ass. Boots to Tanahashi. PK to Tanahashi. Elbow to Tanahashi, 1, 2. Everyone on the other team breaks it up. You get the Rainmaker to Tanahashi. So one member of the Never 6-Man Tag Champions in New Japan lights up the other member of the Never 6-Man Tag Team Champions in New Japan with his finisher. 1, 2, 3. Okada wins for his team. Great match. One match show. Kinda. Go out of your way and watch it if you want to. You know where to stream it. It's kind of fucked up that they make you pay for New Japan World, but then these big shows, they make you pay for that too. So you might be able to find other means. I don't know. Man, I love pro wrestling. Conner McGregor knocking out the Heat's mascot before Joker could knock out the whole damn team. Hilarious. Nunez. Hopefully we see her in pro wrestling. That seems to be the trajectory for a lot of these former UFC legends, or current UFC legends, former UFC standouts. Let's see what's happening with the world title picture in Impact Wrestling. What's going to happen with Jay? He still hasn't made his decision. SmackDown is clearly better than Raw, but Raw is still doing pretty good. We got AEW Collision coming up with CM Punk. Hopefully that's better than AEW Rampage. We got Dynamite coming up with MJF and Adam Cole. What's going to happen there? Noah's doing well. All Japan's doing well. New Japan I think has jumped AEW in my opinion of my favorite promotion. I mean, I don't know if AEW was ever better there, but it's a distant second. Much like AEW is a distant second in WWE as far as popularity globally, I would say AEW is a distant second to New Japan as far as popularity within my brain and heart. Fly high. I'm out.